Currently.
$302. All right.
All right. So I'm Nicholas Tindall. I'm giving the presentation tonight. It's on aerial drone usage by the United States government. It's a hot topic. It's a developing topic. Lots going on, not just here but globally. I'm trying to condense it in a way that's encompassing. Go through the legalities, some of the technology and how it's being implemented. But I'll just tell you up front that there is a lot more you can look into yourselves. It's, like I said, it's developing as the developments are coming as quickly as the technology is progressing. So let's get started. What are drones? We'll start off simply. Okay, according to the U.S. Defense Department, a drone or unmanned aircraft is an aircraft or balloon that does not carry a human operator and is capable of flight under remote control or autonomous programming. When did we begin using drones? Although drones have only recently become the subject of significant public debate, they're not new and their origins can be traced to at least World War I. Believe it or not. First thing that comes to my mind is Roswell and that balloon or whatever. We've been experimenting with them for quite a while. The Vietnam era and throughout the 20th century, they were used primarily for surveillance. The first armed drones were flown in Afghanistan in October of 2001, very shortly after 9/11. Since then, the U.S. has increased its arsenal of Predator drones from 167 in 2002 to more than 7,000 today. What's the math on that? What kind of an increase is that, Mike? Okay. They've been used in countries, they've been reported to have been used in countries including Iraq, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Yemen, Libya, Somalia, and we're pushing right now to get them implemented in South Africa. Okay? In our current armed conflicts, and I highlight that term, which is the correct wording, because right now there's no official declaration of war by Congress. So these are called armed conflicts. War is not the appropriate term.
I thought they were kinetic actions or something like that.
Yeah. Lots of blood and
Did you say South
politics.
Africa?
Yeah, that was.
What's going on there?
Well, they're being murdered. The Boer farmers are being murdered by the communist regime that's owned by Nelson Mandela.
Mm-hmm. And it's just one of the 700 places in the world where we're located in
their misery.
Yeah. Okay, so considering the armed conflicts, there are two U.S. drone offensives. Okay, one by the armed forces and the other by Central Intelligence Agency, the CIA. And this is a diagram with a few of the popular types of drones. Okay. There are two types of lethal drones primarily used by the U.S. Okay, the Predator and the Reaper. The Predator and the Reaper. Okay, the Predator, first flown in '94, was designed to provide persistent intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance information combined with a kill ability. It's equipped with Hellfire missiles, and it was the world's first ever weaponized unmanned aircraft system. Okay, the Reaper, larger and more powerful than the Predator, designed to prosecute time-sensitive targets with persistence and precision and destroy or disable those targets. Okay, so our focus right now is going to be on the international front because that's where these things first took flight and pulled the trigger, we'll say. Okay? In a response to the attacks on September 11th. aftermath of September 11th, the Bush administration began a campaign of targeted killing against suspected members of Al-Qaeda and other armed groups. The CIA allegedly carried out its first targeted drone killing in February 2002 in Afghanistan, where a strike killed 3 men near former Mujahideen base called Zawar Kili. Okay, some reports suggest the CIA thought one of the 3 men might have been Bin Laden. Okay, they judged that based on the height of the man. Okay, when questioned in the aftermath of the strike, however, authorities confirmed that it was not Bin Laden, and they couldn't say who it was. Pentagon spokesman said, "We're convinced that it was an appropriate target, but we do not know who it was."
If it's brown, I'm down.
Okay, therein lies quite a bit of the problem here.
Yep.
Okay, another spokesman later added that there were no initial indications that these were innocent locals, but reports have suggested that the 3 individuals were local civilians collecting scrap metal. Okay, so we're in trouble already. In 2003, I would say in response to bad info, the National Counterterrorism Center was established, providing terrorist-related information for America's intelligence community. That's worth a million words right there. All right. President Obama's escalation of the drone program. Okay, this isn't a Republican hates Democrats spiel here. Okay, these are facts. When President Bush left office in January 2009, the U.S. had carried out at least 45 drone strikes, according to the New America Foundation. 52, according to the Bureau of Investigative Journalism inside Pakistan. Okay, 45. Can you hear him flying over us right now? Since then, Obama has reportedly carried out more than 5 times that number. 292 strikes in just over 3.5 years. This dramatic escalation in the U.S. of drones to carry out targeted killings has brought with it escalating tensions between the U.S. and Pakistan in particular, as well as continued questions about the efficacy and accuracy of such strikes. Okay. Administration officials claim that covert attacks anywhere in the world are legal. International, constitutional, and U.S. statute laws say otherwise. Chief U.S. Counterterrorism Advisor John Brennan said, quote, "Because we are engaged in an armed conflict with Al-Qaeda, the United States takes the legal position that, in accordance with international law, we have the authority to take action against Al-Qaeda and its associated forces. The United States does not view our authority to use military force against Al-Qaeda as being restricted solely to hot battlefields like Afghanistan." Okay, there's some circular reasoning going on here. They're working within a lot of gray area. Okay, this is unprecedented stuff. There are no codes of combat. There are no laws as to how these things can and should be operated. Okay, and we're the ones using them, and we're not going to write the laws. Okay, because we want to use them how we feel we should. All right, so those were the quotes that I read to you all. Okay, the laws that drone usage potentially violates internationally. Okay, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which was written after World War II in 1948. Okay, Article 5 says, "No one shall be subjected to torture or cruelty, inhuman or degrading treatment or punishment." Okay, the key word here for me is inhuman. All right, even if you're guilty of something, you know, what are they gonna? I mean, take you out in the field and shoot you with a missile? You know, to me that's inhuman. So that fits into that article. Article 10. Everyone is entitled in full equality to a fair and public hearing by an independent, impartial tribunal, in the determination of his rights and obligations and of any criminal charge against him. Okay, we're bypassing the legal system. Article 11. Everyone charged with a penal offense has the right to be presumed innocent until proved guilty, according to law, in a public trial at which he has had all the guarantees necessary for his defense. Okay, I'm not going to read all of it, but you get the idea. Okay, under national or international law. Okay, these all criminals at one time. All right, these are unprecedented times. All right, we're not abiding by the old rules anymore. We're basically pointing and shooting. All right, so that's Universal Declaration of Human Rights. All right, that's one document we're violating. Okay, Geneva Conventions. Okay, this thing goes into a lot of detail, specifically dealing with civilian casualties and innocents. Okay, there's a lot of innocents killed in the process. You know, they like to say that these things are precise, but the fact of the matter is they're not able to target me or you in this room and only kill you like they want to lead us to believe. Okay, it doesn't happen. So, a lot of violations regarding the Geneva Conventions and innocents being killed. Okay, the numbers would astound you. I will not go into detail here. In regards to this is a funny one. Okay, this is one that it's a little bit backwards here. Okay, so in regards to the CIA leg of the operations, all right, the guys that are piloting these things. All right, they're considered civilians. All right, they don't wear military uniforms. Civilian participation in combat is prohibited by 2 protocols to the Geneva Convention. All right. And we're getting stonewalled here. Okay. Anytime we try to inquire with the United States government about anything regarding drone program, any of these targeted killings, who it was, why, where, you know, they flatly deny, which is in itself legal. Okay, it defies freedom of information. All right. This is a very interesting report. Okay, it was just released, I would say, in the last month. All right, it was done by Stanford and New York universities. All right, the report is the result of 9 months of research by the International Human Rights and Conflict Resolution Clinic of Stanford Law School and the Global Justice Clinic at New York University School of Law. It's called Living Under Drones: Death, Injury, and Trauma to Civilians from U.S. Drone Practices in Pakistan. Okay, this thing is like 40 pages long. But it started when in December of last year, Reprieve, which is a charity based in the UK, okay, contacted Stanford to ask whether it would be interested in conducting investigations to figure out the extent of the drone strikes in Pakistan and whether they were conforming to international law and causing harm or injury to civilians. Stanford Clinic agreed to do this independent fact-finding and analysis, and as well as look into other related drone strikes and targeted killings in Pakistan beginning in December 2011. Okay, later on, New York University agreed to join the project, and there were 2 trips made to Pakistan. Okay, as well as additional research, writing, whatnot, interviewing. Okay, findings. This is shocking. Okay. First, while civilian casualties are rarely acknowledged by the U.S. government, there is significant evidence that U.S. drone strikes have injured and killed civilians. Second, U.S. drone strike policies cause considerable and unaccounted for harm to the daily lives of ordinary civilians beyond death and physical injury. Third, publicly available evidence that the strikes have made the U.S. safer overall is ambiguous at best. And fourth, current U.S. targeted killings and drone strike practices undermine respect for the rule of law and international legal protections and may set dangerous precedents. Okay, that's a lot to take in right there, but it's bad news, all right? It's really, really bad stuff. Are we doing more harm than good? I would say so. Okay. Okay. In light of these concerns, sticking with the report, it recommends that the U.S. conduct a fundamental reevaluation of current targeted killing practices, taking into account all available evidence, concerns of various stakeholders, and the short and long-term costs and benefits. All right, that's what's going on over there. All right, there are a lot of details that I omitted. Okay, it's too much to get into. All right, that's the best I could sum it up. But there are specific instances, okay, of one town in particular, North Waziristan, okay, they are the city living under drones, okay, that's why the report is called Living Under Drones, okay, and entailed in this report, there's much more detailed information on specific death tolls, damage reports, okay, the psychological trauma that the strikes and just having the drones overhead induces. All right, it's really affecting people's lives. So that's the first part of this presentation, and that's what's going on across the Atlantic, overseas. All right, on the war front, so to speak. I'm gonna wet my palette real quick. Any questions so far?
By comments, I'll let you go on though before I comment, but I think these are our enemies we're talking about. I mean, let's face it, everyone's entitled to a trial. What this rules of engagement stuff has that our government has put in place is Benghazi is a great example. But anyway, you go on with your presentation, but this angers me that we're allowing international tribunals to control our sovereignty. It angers me that we say everybody has to have a free trial. We're at war with these guys. Why aren't we talking about the guys that cut heads off and stone women and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera?
Well, I would just say on that.
It's a very, very touchy subject here that we're getting into. I don't agree with much of what you have argued for so far.
Okay. Well, part of what Campaign for Liberty stands for is, we have a non-interventionist policy, and we. Okay, so typically, and I almost preface the presentation with the fact that, okay, we typically stay to that, okay, non-interventionist foreign policy, and we take our time and energy and put it into the issues, okay? But I thought that it was important to highlight these things, and as a person and as a citizen of the United States, I feel it's important to set a good example, and I'm not going to teach my daughter to kill her enemies. Okay.
The ends don't justify the means.
Can I ask a question, Nick?
They don't justify
The articles that were written in 48, I think you said, about not being preemptive or whatever. Were those written in the U.S. or were those? Were those a UN?
The
thing?
Geneva Convention was drafted by NATO after World War II.
You're talking about the universal
Right? Yeah.
law of rights. It was I want to say like 48 different countries that got together after World War II, and wanted to kind of look at what had transpired, what had happened, and set some new guidelines moving forward.
So I'm assuming we had a major hand in writing those articles.
Yeah, it was something that we definitely agreed to when we signed off on. I'm not sure who, representing the U.S. sat down at the table, but yeah, it was a collective,
Okay. Thanks.
thing.
I'd
Sure.
just like to say a little something. I think we're getting off on the Geneva Convention and whatnot. When I think
Okay.
we're this is the presentation about drones, which I am not in favor of drones for the particular reason we may have enemies, and that is a different subject as to who is and who are not our enemies and what the law states and whatnot. But the fact that the estimates say that only 2% of the people that die in drone strikes are our targets. We kill a lot of children and families, and this isn't, it's not as effective as it should be. Maybe we should have tactical teams. But the fact is that there's a lot of collateral damage, there's a lot of anger at us, and I think, I personally think we can do it better. If we're going to do it, we should do it better. We shouldn't be careless and reckless. And I think that it's a lot of power, and I think it has to be evaluated. I don't think we can do it recklessly. And you see pictures all the time of these broken families. There was a story the other week about a wedding that got bombed because one guy may have been a bad guy.
Right.
So you kill a lot of women and children in the process. Maybe you could have had a tactical strike team.
Where do you draw the line? If you're willing to do an impersonal murder of someone you disapprove of, why not use it at home with somebody who's protesting? And what makes us trust the government that's so far out of control?
But I think as we'll see, what the potential for, what the blowback for drones is the domestic use. And I think that's the segue into next segment here.
Sure.
Wait, I think we're assuming that there is no concern about who the targets are and trying to make sure that they don't kill civilians. But you're at war. You're at war.
Well,
When you're
like
at
James said, when
war-
only 2% of those targeted are militants or define, who our targets are.
How do you discriminate in war?
Well, that's a personal thing,
Are they
okay?
discriminating against us?
So,
But we're
can I
not
ask
we're
a
not at
question?
war with Yemen, are we?
Can I ask a question?
Are we?
These are unconstitutional
We're
wars.
South Africa.
We're not at war with any of these countries.
Technically, we're not at war with anybody because
Can I
Congress
ask a
never declared
question?
nothing. So.
To these people, we're their enemies. So let's say these people they think that your neighbor is a terrorist, and they've got drones, and they're gonna attack your neighbor and bomb your neighbor. Well, guess what? Your house gets blown up too, and you die, and your kids die, and your family dies. These are people. It's easy to say, well, we can't see these people, and we don't know these people, that they're enemies and they're evil. They're people. These are families, these are children. It doesn't need to be done this way.
I think so.
How would
Okay.
you do it?
I just want to make it clear.
Don't do it at all.
I'm only presenting facts here, okay? All right. You can make your own opinions, and obviously you're entitled to that, okay?
And we welcome them.
This is a
Yeah, this is what
presentation,
all
and it's a
appreciate,
touchy
by the way.
subject, and it's unprecedented territory, okay? And we all may feel a little differently about it. Okay, so, all right, so my intent was to, maybe do a little foreshadowing, because now the drones are going to be utilized within this country, okay? What are they good for? All right, we did a little bit of research. All right, we found out the FAA has to grant permission, to organizations, private and public, for permission to utilize drones. All right, and we discovered that Queen Anne's County Sheriff's Department may have had a permit. So we inquired about that. Our own Matt Salisbury, wrote them an email, and here is their replies in the Campaign for Liberty email corner, the new segment of our show. All right. Hi Matt. At the present time, the Office of the Sheriff does not have any plans to purchase or utilize a drone. It is my understanding from talking with agencies that do utilize them, they are used for three main purposes: searching for missing persons and lost children in rural areas, searching for illegal marijuana grown and clandestine laboratories, and pre-surveillance raids for SWAT teams. Basically, they are used as an aerial platform to assist law enforcement in potentially dangerous areas and or situations, and to cover a lot of ground in a short span of time. Respectfully, Major James Williams. Okay. So, we reported that, well, we're Campaign for Liberty, right? We're not the only group in Maryland. We have guys who are in charge of Campaign for Liberty State of Maryland. All right, we sent them this. And here's what they said, all right? This is Class A government speak, all right? Don't believe what they tell you. So, take that, as you will. Okay. Moving on to what is important legislation regarding drone usage. All right, how did this all come about domestically? All right, Patriot Act 2001 began a precedent, warrantless wiretapping, etc., and we created the Department of Homeland Security. Okay, we're concerned about our rights being violated here. All right, last year, everyone heard of National Defense Authorization Act. And it passed, okay? And the legalities contained within that may not sound like much, okay? But it's right here, and it's going to allow for airspace to be open to integrate these things. All right? I'm not going to...
number that it passed by in the Senate.
What's the number that it passed by?
In the Senate, I think it was 99, wasn't it? To 100?
It passed by
It was
good
everybody
amounts.
but Rand Paul.
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah.
Okay, Cardin voted against it, Mikulski voted for it.
Okay.
Alright. Alright, so, U.S. laws that could be violated domestically with drone usage. Alright, Posse Comitatus Act. Alright, I'll read it. From and after the passage of this act shall not be lawful to employ any part of the Army of the United States, alright, or otherwise for the purpose of executing the laws, except in such cases, under such circumstances, such employment of said force may be expressly authorized by the Constitution or by Congress. No money appropriated by this act shall be used to pay any of the expenses incurred in employment of troops, violation of this section. Okay, basically what it's getting at is, alright, if the military is operating drones, what are they legally able to do so within this country? All right, and Posse Comitatus tells us no. Okay, next up, Fourth Amendment, right against search and seizure. States the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures. Shall not be violated, no warrant shall issue, but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. Okay, these things, it's the capabilities that are concerning, because they can fly so high and they can see so far. All right, it's not as if the policeman stops in front of your house and you can see him looking through your window. Okay, these things are out of sight. All right, so this is something that we're trying to protect ourselves against, not just for criminal activity, but just privacy in general.
Political dissent.
It's an important thing as a human being.
Political dissent.
Yeah, we'll get to that. All right, Fifth Amendment. No person shall be I shouldn't say da-da-da-da. That downplays the importance of the amendment itself. But the point is, no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. Okay. And habeas corpus. Privilege. Okay. This is the part of the Constitution that implements habeas corpus, because habeas corpus is an international kind of a law. So this is kind of just a little history lesson on how we implement it here in the United States. And I'll give you more of a history lesson just to break things up a bit, but the habeas corpus concept was first expressed in the Magna Carta, a constitutional document forced on King John by English landowners in June of 1215. Okay? Among the liberties declared in the Magna Carta was that no man shall be seized or imprisoned or deseized or outlawed or exiled or injured in any way, nor will we enter on him or send against him except by the lawful judgment of his peers and by the law of the land. Okay, this was just more of how, I guess, things that we pulled from when we wrote the Constitution. And this dates back all the way, like I said, to 1215. Okay, and it evolved into due process of law, which can be interpreted as fundamental constitutional guarantee that all legal proceedings will be fair and that one will be given notice of the proceedings and an opportunity to be heard before the government acts to take away one's life, liberty, or property. Also, a constitutional guarantee that a law shall not be unreasonable, arbitrary, or capricious.